he was in a play,
Okay.
and we was in school, whatever. We kicking it, whatever. Somebody comes running in, so we had different age groups. Somebody comes in from the older class and like, Darrail's in a play, and he's kissing on dudes.
How you know?
And we like, whoa, hold on. We're like, Darrail?
Yeah.
Not my Darrail.
Yeah.
So like it's the talk of the day. So for the rest of the day, we see Darrail after school. We all get up to him. We like, Darrail, what's this we hear about you kissing dudes? Like what's going on? Like what's going on? And he sits us all down. He's like, y'all, I'm an actor. I read the script. I knew what I had to do.
Yeah.
But we did, and I really, like, looking back on it, I really respected that, because I was just like, anybody else would have been like, no, like, it ain't even like that. But he was just like, no, like, this is what I did.
Yeah, that's your profession.
But like, we gave him a lot though. Right? We threw a lot.
High school kids,
we threw a lot at you.
You're not the only one. Okay, there's a lot of people I knew in my personal life that gave me a lot for that. And to be transparent, yes, it was the role. Would I do that role again like that? The answer is no. Yeah. But in the moment, I'm like, let's own it. For my own personal reasons, we don't got to dive into it, but it was definitely a moment of, I owned it, and it was, for me, it was just, how do I explain this to other young men who look at even just theater as like, who does that? Like, just theater alone is like, you don't really, that's not very common in our community. It's just not.
Sure.
It's not. Yeah. But I owned it. I am so proud of, like, and Minnesota is so huge in the arts, and I am like such an advocate, a thespian. I love theater. Did a lot for me. So I do recall this moment.
Yeah.
And it was tough. Yeah. It's hard to tell these young brothers, but at the end of the day, 10 toes down, and it was all right. It was all right, and it was still like, hey, you remember it? Yeah. I would have forgot about that.
Oh no, that always sticks with me. That always sticks with me. That moment sticks with me.
That's great, man. But it's great that wasn't a moment to look at me less than the man, since we're on that topic, right?
No, for sure. I bring that up because I remember that day, and I went home and I had that thought. I was just like, because like when you're coming up, you're getting groomed, you're getting told like, a man is this, a man is this. Oh, you don't do this. You're not.
Homophobia is real.
Homophobia is real.
We're not saying it, but that's really what it is.
For sure.
It's real.
And like even outside of like your sexuality, like just the way you present yourself, the clothes that you wear, it's just like
all of that.
And like that was the first time when I was like, well, I don't think Darrail is not a man.
Right.
But he's doing something that I've been told for years, that you don't do as a man. So like that was just one of the things that really like resonated with me. So that's why when I first came up with this whole concept, this whole episode, I was like, oh, I gotta hit up Darrail. I gotta hit Darrail, because I was like, I put that in my notes too. I was like, I gotta make sure I bring up that story. Yeah. Because it was a turning point.
Because King, man, you're impressionable at that age too. So and like you said, like we have a lot of people have this construct of what they think manhood should be, and you're entitled to your personal belief. But the moment you try to impose that on other people, that's where it becomes problematic. So just because I'm a cisgendered, heterosexual, Christian, black man doesn't mean that everybody's gonna have the same beliefs that I have, and that's okay. As long as they're respecting my personal space and the space of others and not being a danger to themselves, really, it ain't none of my business. Yeah. And that's really what we need to be teaching. I mean, and to segue to answer the original question, when you sent it, I was like, oh God, this is gonna be like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? But the way I look at manhood is similar to how I just look at being a good global citizen, which is, man, a man, brings value to any positive situation and takes away the negative value in any negative situation. So you should be an asset in every sense of the word. So whether that's in your community, whether that's in your family, whether that's in your place of worship, whether that's in your corporation that you're a part of, whether it's in your social network, whether it's in, your state, whatever. Wherever you've been planted, you should be producing fruit. You should be bearing fruit. And I think that that's a good global citizen in general, but it's specific to manhood and specifically for black men in America. I think that's non-negotiable. I really believe that. I don't think we can afford to not be present in our communities, to not be vigilant in our communities, and most importantly, to not be leading our communities. So when I think of manhood, that's what I think of. I think a man adds to every positive situation and makes it even better. and they can mitigate the issues of a negative situation. I think that's what it comes down to. Are you making the people's lives around you better? Are they better for knowing you? Are they better for coming into contact with you? And I think that's ultimately what it comes down to. So when I look, at my life and look at the people I'm around and try to, be self-aware and evaluate, self-reflection and think about, am I pouring into these people or am I taking? Because you should be having symbiotic relationships with people. It shouldn't be one-way street. But I want to make sure I'm pouring more than I'm taking. Or if I'm having to take, that I'm replacing what I took. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think that is so imperative because we have so many people that, are in relationship transactionally, which in an instance is fine. Like if I go to the store and you have services that I need, I should be able to pay for those services. That's a transactional relationship. But you and I shouldn't say that we're friends and the only time you see me is when you got a booth at a club. You know what I mean? Like I'm not, prime example, man, like they used to get on me because I wouldn't go out. And it got to a point where like people were like, you don't like hanging out with us? I'm like, it's not that. We not celebrating anything. It's a Thursday in St. Cloud. We all still here. None of us is where we want to be at. I'm not going out. I don't like drinking. I really don't like folk like that. God is working on me with that because you can't love God and not love his people.
Right.
But that's my own ministry. Speaking to Justin, just talking to Justin. Yeah. But, so it just was like, I can't, you know what I mean? Yeah. And then it's like, if you're not with the right energy, like I'm very big on, protecting your own space. So like, if I know my energy ain't right, I'm not gonna bring that until a celebratory thing. But then it's, bachelor parties and people getting married and people, progressing new careers and moving and starting new chapters of their life. I'm all for it and I'm there. Yeah. So that's why they always laugh. They literally be like, "Oh, Justin's out. We really going," you know what I mean? But
what's funny that you bring that up because I'm literally that friend now.
Yeah.
I'm literally that guy now. Yeah. Like they literally beg me to go out now.
Yeah, I just think I want to be able to add to it because I don't ever want somebody to feel like they're being used or feel like they're in a transactional relationship with me and on being taken from. So I feel like to go back, like I said, to circle it and bring it back home. That's what I think a man does. I think manhood is adding to every situation that you're in. That the people around you when they come in contact with you. To leave better than they came. Each situation that you leave it better than it was when you got there. And if it's bad, to make it less bad, if that's what it is. Yeah. So that's how I look at it. That's, again, an oversimplification. That takes, like we were talking about discipline and walking and whatever you're speaking into existence and being consistent with your actions and having principles that you're willing to stand on. But ultimately, I think that's what it is. I don't think I don't think you reach manhood at a certain age. I don't think you reach manhood at a certain tax bracket. I don't think you reach manhood at a certain body count. I don't think you reach manhood, at a certain follower count. I think you reach manhood when you look at your life and you look at the communities that you're a part of, and you can see where you've left your imprint, where people can look back and see where you came into contact with them, something in them changed. And preferably for the better.
You skimmed over something though.
Yeah.
You just said not after a certain body count.
I did.
Don't. That's huge, brother.
That's a big one.
I did.
Okay,
that's a big one.
I heard that.
Yeah.
That's.
Yeah.
I'm saying that because I thought at certain point.
As did I.
With the circle you're around, as a man, I thought, of course, it's part of my rap sheet. I have to, right? Like I thought. That was part of being a man.
Yeah.
How many girls you got? Like, but not only me, our circle. My circle thought that too. So I'm listening to what you said, and that's so true. That's so true. But you also got to realize you're around so other like-minded people when you're thinking like that.
Yeah.
We're all hurting in something. We all. It seems like we both don't have that father in our home because we're thinking this is what men are supposed to do, and I know for a fact that any man with relationship with his sons would not encourage that. Like that's not what it means to be a man. But for a long time, I thought so. And I remember admitting that to my wife. Like I thought I was doing what I was supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
I know it's wrong now.
Right.
The Lord worked on me, but at that time I thought, you know what I mean?
You just handling business.
And when you look at young brothers, when you look at young men, they want to know too.
Yeah.
They looking, they're like, hey, who they just, it's just natural. I'm not going into any conversations that I've had with these young men, but I'm trying to say that I know that that's part of the psyche of a man to feel like that has to be a thing, and that couldn't be so further from the truth. So I was listening.
It's toxic masculinity, man. That's literally what it is.
That's not the definition.
And that's another thing. Not since we went that direction.
Yeah.
You know, manhood is making sure that the women in your sphere of influence feel heard, feel seen, and feel protected, and that you're actively correcting men that don't exhibit that behavior.
For sure.
That's another part of manhood that doesn't that gets kind of glossed over. So, I would agree with that 100%. I was fortunate. Yes, that pervasive culture is prominent in our culture, but I was fortunate, man. Once, I got to St. Cloud. Acquaintances with a lot of people, but my actual friends, some stand-up dudes, and happen to be Sigmas, which is kind of ironic. But it's funny because a lot of my friends I might be the only one.
We're not promoting.
I might be the only one that's not, and they get on me about that constantly.
You said it, not me.
Come on, man.
But it's just it's some, you know what I mean? Like you said, it's about the people who you're around, and eventually it comes down to, my dad and both of my parents really will tell you, like, when the people you're around, you can tell a lot about a person by the people they associate with.
For sure.
So, as a man, if you're with somebody, for me, I speak for myself, like, if I'm trying to be in a committed relationship with my girlfriend at this time, not my wife, and I'm with men that don't respect women and pretend to be in committed relationships, eventually she's gonna look at me like, okay, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what's
they
up?
all on dirt,
so
and
what's
you
up?
just not.
Yeah.
Well,
So you just the saint.
You're the
you know
Lone
what I
Ranger, huh?
mean?
You
So it's one of those things where it's like,
Yeah.
that's why I said manhood. Part of that is you have to be willing to correct, confront, and not in the way that connotation that it has now. But trying to hold other men accountable. I think that's part of it too, and that's something that I've definitely grown in because I don't necessarily like to talk to people about that type of stuff.
For sure.
Yeah.
Because some of it is that it's that thin line between it's none of your business. It's like, okay,
Right.
community, like we need to step. You know what I mean? So that's another thing that you have to navigate. And I really was gonna get to was, it's subjective to people. It really is, because your definition might be different from somebody else's. But I feel like as a man, you should be bringing something to every every situation that you're in.
And then you get daughters. Yeah, that changes. Yeah. Your psyche changes, and a lot of it is.
So talk about that.
Who are you gonna find? I hope you. Do you tell them to find? So I've asked some men this at my job that I work with. I'm like, you had a daughter,
right?
Would you tell her to find someone like you?
Oh, that's good.
And they had to stop.
That's good.
And they said no. I said, well, that's wrong, right? If you don't want your daughter to find someone like you, what are you really saying? What does that mean? If your own daughter, if you're like, don't find, that's different.
Yeah.
And I would say, biasly speaking, because I would want you to find someone like me, as long as it turns out in the likeness of my story where he didn't stay that way, right? He didn't stay in that mess. But it truly does mean, it does bring a point to ponder when you have girls, literally girls, right? Yo, you want so much for them. You want that young man that you want that to just be like, he better fill all the stat sheets, okay? You better
check all the boxes.
Coaches, you got to pay for the daughter. Certain coaches, you got to pay a certain price. You want that feel, and that it changes the narrative.
You want the world for them.
It changes the narrative. So absolutely.
Yeah, I would agree with that 100%. It's very. I don't know. We haven't had kids yet, but that is something I think about. Like,
it changes. It changes.
Because they're seeing. So I guess my question to you would be, when you're having interactions with your wife, how cognizant are you of them watching you and that interaction?
Oh man, my daughter.
Particularly when you know you're right.
My daughter. My daughter slapped my wife on the butt. So that was like you really watch. You really be watching, huh? Like, no, honey. But at least she's like, hey, man, I'm telling you, like, I have such joy in showing love you know,
man.
in front, because like they need to see that. They need to see it.
Sure.
Like, no, you don't need to see us in one room. No, you need to see your parents together. You need to see that. And not only does my household need to see it, my young brothers need to see it.
Yeah, absolutely.
My young brothers need to see that. They need to see strong, if I may be blunt, black relationship. Because it's broken. I'm not saying it needs to be, but it's broken. When they see that, it's like, oh, that happens? That happens? And the hardest ones, the ones that give us the most problems, are ones that look like us. So if I know that my own young men and young sisters are going to be hardest on me, it's because they're not used to seeing our positive light. Yeah. And that, for me, works in the home and outside the home. Much like that fruit you were saying. Yeah, it plays a role. It plays a huge role.
Because it might not be on your tree. It might not end up, growing right underneath where you sprouted from. It might, rinse up.